Today we're going to be looking at the DAX EA by Mr. Babak Alamdar. This video is sponsored by our free Golden Time Bomb Expert Advisor. Take your trading to the next level through automating the London Breakout and the Opening Range Breakout. Click the link in the description to download the EA completely for free. So this developer actually has a very loyal fan base, and I remember that I made a video on him several months ago on one of his bots, and I didn't say like the most complimentary things towards it. And I actually had people reach out to me saying like, hey Cengiz, you missed something. You're wrong about this, because he's actually a very good developer. And this wasn't just people hyping him up. These were other clients of mine who know what they're talking about. So I think it's definitely good to kind of approach it with that lens now, knowing that there are people standing behind his systems, and that's usually a good thing. If you have fans, it means that you're probably doing something right. So let's now approach this new bot from Mr. Babak, which a client of mine actually sent to take a look at to see how it works, given the fact that he has had many bots which have been running successfully for some time. And this one is trading the DAX, which is one of my personal favorite assets to trade. There's a few really interesting kind of features to it. And if you guys don't know, the DAX is the German equity market, the top 40 companies within Germany's equity markets. And one really interesting thing about the DAX, which I believe that this strategy is likely based on, is that it has a very, very strong opening drive. So similar to US 30, when like the US market is open, there's this huge impulse at 9:30 Eastern time because the New York Stock Exchange, etc. opens. And I find with the DAX that if you look at 9 a.m. Frankfurt time, when the extra exchange opens, you tend to see a similar like insane level of push. And the beautiful thing about the DAX is because it's trading in Europe as opposed to trading in Americas, and it's just less widely traded internationally, your like pre-market price action tends to be fairly smooth. So it kind of just like trickles along slowly, and then it just flies up. And it makes it fantastic for this type of system because you can get a really, really good risk reward on these style of trades. Because if something just moves sideways and then flies up or down, it's pretty much perfect for an opening range breakout style system. So I think the foundation of this here, he's talking about like, hey, it's using a bunch of different strategies. It's not a scalper, so likely higher risk reward, as well as the fact that it is time-based is one of his other elements, or time and date, I think. So he's saying it's FIFO compatible, 23 independent strategies. So no grid, no martingale, no money management. It's recommended to run in one setup. He does speak something about date in here, if I'm not mistaken. Let me just do a find and replace to see. Okay, here we go. The timing-based confirmation. There we go. So that is essentially what he's looking at. So it's not that he's not using the word time, but I knew I read time somewhere. So timing. And I think that's exactly what he's alluding to. If we go into some of the actual signals here, he has a bunch of them running, but they've all been very solid to date. If we just go to the seller page right here, we can see that he's running 1, 2, 3, 4. So I think there's a few different styles of strategies kind of baked in. That's my one concern, because he's running 23 in one. Like, is there 23 different ways of managing the position? How are you actually kind of spreading out your risk across strategies? But so far it's been running for quite a few months across multiple different signals on IC markets, and the performance is looking rather solid to date. So all of that is looking quite good. So can't be, you have to give credit where credit is due. And if we look at the statistics, this one is not the longest signal, but is having a very high win rate and actually a positive risk reward. So let me see if I can find a longer signal here as well, just because that's a bit too short for us to get enough information from. So let me see if any of these have more trades. 9 weeks. This is I think this one has the most trades at 106 trades. So if we come here, we can see that, there we go, this starts to make a bit more sense. Now we start to see an inverted risk reward with a higher win rate. So that would make more sense. Because usually, as you guys know, we either have a high win rate system or a high risk reward system. And from this, it looks like it's not a typical scalper to his point. However, there is some element of inverted risk reward most likely happening here, which could be expected with this style of opening range breakout. As long as it's not too inverted, it can still be a very viable system. So far this one is the most impressive signal. It's been running for quite a while here, for several months actually, since March actually, and its performance has been very impressive to date. So yeah, so far looking pretty good. Let's jump into MT5 to see how it works. And if we look at the deals here, we can see that yes, it is indeed clustering around that 10 a.m. Platform time. And MT5 is 1 hour ahead of Germany. This is set Eastern Standard Time plus 7, or Eastern Time plus 7 is MT5 Standard Time. Germany is 6 hours ahead of Eastern Time. Therefore, this 10 is really 9 a.m. Frankfurt time, so it makes total sense. He's probably just placing pending orders prior to the open and waiting for breaks to those levels. Occasionally there's these kind of like New York time. This is around 10 a.m. New York time. So that would also make sense that maybe on 1 or 2 days when the DAX was just moving sideways, there wasn't that impulse that happened. So he actually just waited, and it was triggered essentially by the New York market volatility. What we can see is that all of his different strategies here, if we go to the inputs tab, are just different ways likely to manage the positions. So on some days he's kind of stacking a bunch of different orders or trades on top of each other, and on some days it's just like 1 or 2. So I'm curious as to kind of how he's managing that exact process, but I think the underlying premise here is there is very much an opening range breakout going on. So we're not seeing any indicators or anything out of the ordinary. Let me just try and see if he's placing pending order or if he's placing more of a market order. Oh, yeah, those look more like maybe pending orders to me. I'll slow down for a second. And we can fast forward. Oh, it's almost a bit too fast here. Okay. Oh, these are market buys. Interesting. Okay, so like many of these tend to be usually pending order based systems for opening range breakouts, but he appears to be entering in with a market order execution. So that's actually very neat. So from what I can see so far, there's definitely a real strategy here. And he is using an interesting method to kind of actually manage the trades, because typically we would expect to see like a classic pending order caller or break of the levels, but he's entering with a bunch of different types of market orders, but based on that kind of opening drive volatility. So there's a real strategy here. It looks pretty interesting actually, could be a good system. One thing to note is that because there's so many different trades happening simultaneously, I might want to connect with him and just ask like, hey, why is the management different? Why are we spreading out across so many orders? Is there a risk that they can all lose at the same time? How do we prevent that? Is there a total max equity loss? And effectively what you would need to do is just do the math to see what your total possible exposure could be. And that's probably the best way of evaluating the system. Because not only do you want to see how much can I lose on a given trade, you want to see essentially how do you manage your risk if there's so many different trades which happen potentially at the same time. Because in some of these, like there's quite a few clusters, right? And if you were to have a big cluster, all of which that lost simultaneously, that could be problematic. But it could be that once the impulse keeps going, he's kind of adding in, which could very well be a super interesting system. So far, this looks pretty good. I'm impressed. Yeah, let's see how the performance continues, and it might make its way to the top of the MQL5 marketplace, and then we can see how people find it. So guys, hope you enjoyed the video. I'll see you in the next one.